In the previous lesson, I showed you how to go from one layer to another using the trim method. And in the case of these templates, that works perfectly. But I want to show you another method to go from one layer to another that doesn't necessarily work perfectly in this case, but I want to use it to introduce you to the concept of keyframes and markers. We're going to make a cross dissolve from one layer to another. So this is how that works. We're going to start from scratch this time. I just want to open up After Effects by double-clicking on it, like so. We get the welcome splash screen. I'm just going to close it. And now all I'm going to do is import the two files that I made for this purpose. Now you don't have these files, so you can import any files you want or just follow along here. So I'm going to go get those two files by going to File, Import, File. And I have these two files where I made templates with the first set of 5 and the second set of 5 files. Marquee select them, click on Import. And now I'm going to make a new comp using one of these. So I click away to deselect, click on the first one, and drag it down to the new comp icon. Here we go. Pull it down there like that. Let it rip. It makes a new comp the exact length of that video file. Also the same characteristics in terms of the frame rate and the frame size. But we need to make this comp longer. So to do that, I go up to the comp icon here and right click and say Composition Settings. And we're going to change the duration. Right now it's 16 seconds and 11 frames. I'm going to make it 40 seconds because that's long enough to put in 2 of these video files. And click OK. And now to see how long that is, I'm just going to drag this little zoom icon here and zoom out. So you can see we've got that much more space there. Now I want to show you how to use a marker to mark the place where we want the transition from one layer to the other to end in this case. So I'm going to go here and move forward a bit to the point where we just get off the screen here and we're just about to see that little bright object come on the screen like that. I'm going to navigate more accurately by using these little buttons up here. I want to go back a frame, and there we are. That's the spot where we want this transition to end. So now I want to add a marker there to mark that spot. And it's fairly simple to do that. We make the layer active, which it is already. Go up to the Layer menu and click on Add Marker. Notice that the keyboard shortcut is the numeric keypad asterisk. Click on that, and it adds this little pentagon down here that's marking that spot. All right, now I want to get the other video file and add that. So I'm going to drag it down here too and drag it past this one. And it'll extend past the right-hand side here, but that's okay. Now I want to find the spot where I want to start the transition here. So I'm going to go forward with the current time indicator until I get that little spot where it's past that bright area. But again, I'm going to navigate more accurately using these buttons up here. So I'll go back a frame, to just after the point where it gets bright. Right there is a good spot. I want to put a marker there now. So to do that, I make sure the layer is active. I go up to Layer, Add Marker. Or I could have pressed the asterisk on my numeric keypad. Alright, now I want to line these two guys up, and the way I do that is by trimming things here. I want to be able to trim it, and then I can use the snap methodology to line them up. So I'm going to trim to the marker. If I drag this left or right like that, you'll see it goes past the marker. But if I hold on the Shift key while I do this and go toward the marker, it's going to snap to the marker. That's step one. Do the same thing for this guy. I can trim this one to the right like that. Hold on the Shift key. When I get to the marker, it snaps to the marker. Now I can drag this one to the left like this. And again, if I hold on the Shift key, the trim points will line up. Not the markers, but the trim points. I hold on the Shift key, and then they snap like that. So we're actually lining the trim points. And now I can untrim them, which may seem like an extra step, but this is the easiest way to line things up like this. So I'm going to untrim them by pulling them back out by going up here like this. Get them untrimmed. Same thing down here. Back out like that. So now I've got the ending point for this one marked and the beginning point of this one marked. Now you're going to see that we're going to kind of play with this a little bit. It's not necessarily exact, but let's see how that works. Right now I want to adjust the opacity of these layers. I want to go from fully opaque on the top to transparent, and on the bottom I want to go from transparent to opaque. And the way I do that is by keyframing opacity. Now if you haven't discovered keyframes before, keyframes mark the beginning and the end of a change. We're going to mark the beginning and the end of the change in opacity in these guys. So I'm going to start with the first layer by making it active. Now I'm going to press the T key, and the T key is the keyboard shortcut for opacity, if you want to remember it that way. I'm going to navigate to the marker by dragging the current time indicator and then holding down the Shift key, and it'll snap to the marker like that. I want to put a keyframe there for opacity, and to do that I click on this little stopwatch over there, and that adds a keyframe. And the keyframe right now says the value for the opacity there is 100%. I'm going to change that to 0 in just a moment. Now I want to go backward, back toward the beginning a few frames. So I can click on this previous frame like that. Once, twice, 3, 4, something like that. And it's so close together here, I want to zoom in on the timeline. To zoom in on the timeline, I press the equal key, which also has the plus on it as kind of a reminder. So I'm zooming in on this timeline like that. And I want to add a keyframe here. To add a new keyframe there, I just go to the left like this, and there's a little diamond there. And you click on that, that'll add a keyframe there. So now we have two keyframes, but they're equal. They're both 100%. I'm going to go to this keyframe by just dragging over there, being on top of it like that. I'm going to change its value now by going down to 0. Scrub it down to 0. So we're going to go from 100% opaque on top to transparent. So we're revealing the clip below like this. On the clip below, I want to go from transparent to opaque. So I'm going to pull back over here like that, to that keyframe, to line things up. Select this one down here, press the T key, turn on keyframes for it, drag that to 0, so the keyframe value is 0. Go over here to where this other keyframe is, like that, and change the value of this one here to 100%. That automatically adds a keyframe when you change the value, and keyframes are turned on like that. There we go. So now we've transitioned from the top to the bottom. We're 100% opaque here, transparent there. We're opaque here, transparent there. Let's see how that works. It's a little bit of a dip to gray. And that's the nature of this particular video file. So to fix that, I'm going to slide these keyframes on top to the right a bit. The way I do that is by just clicking on the word opacity over here. And that highlights those two keyframes. Then I can just drag them a bit. So I'm going to put my current time indicator where the gray area is, like that, and slide them to the right and see if that gray goes away. There we go. So let's see how that works now. And a little bit more. I'm going to go one more notch to the right here. I think that'll work better. There we go. I do notice this little highlight comes on here for one moment like that, that little guy at the end there. So I can maybe slide this guy to the left. So I click away to deselect, select just that one and slide it to the left. Let's see if that fixes things a little bit. Just a slight problem. One more time. Let's see if that works now. From that to that. Much smoother. There you go. So you see that we don't necessarily line up the keyframes. We need to make some adjustments here after the fact. But there you go. That works very well. So that is how you use markers and opacity keyframes to make a cross dissolve from one layer to another.